And
You could turn your camera off if you want to.
bam.
If you don't want to see yourself, I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Uh,
better.
so hopefully you can see the starting soon
Yeah,
screen.
I see it. Perfect.
People can hear us, which I just realized. Hello, stream. Who can hear us? No, they can't hear us. Done. Fine. Okay.
Okay.
So when I change this to the coding scene, you should be able to see the screen. And if it's not big enough or anything, let me know. I've made the font small, slightly smaller, so there's more real estate. But we can figure it out as we go. That's not a problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Just say like, oh yeah, it's too small, it's too big, whatever. I'm not precious about that kind of thing, in the stream.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. So let's put that down there because we don't care about it. And then I'll be just working on my machine here, so you'll be able to see exactly what I see, which is good.
Yeah. Perfect.
Cool. So I'm just gonna wait till the time flips over till top of the hour, and we'll go.
Okay. Perfect. I very much like your streams, Gary. I
Oh,
think there's a very positive atmosphere and very enthusiastic. I really like it.
I'm. That's very kind of you. I really enjoy doing them, which you can probably tell by the way that I get so excited about all this new stuff, freak. You know what it is? There's all this new stuff that we get all the time in PHP, and um, we should be more positive about it, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And it doesn't matter whether it's Laravel or Symphony or who cares? This is all
Yeah.
good stuff. This helps us all to do our job. So, I'm
Yeah.
I'm fully positive these days. I have
Cool.
to say. Right, cool. I'll just put us live. That's totally fine. So,
Okay.
okay. So, hang on. I need to turn Freak up because we have a guest on the stream today.
Hey.
So, yeah, I can see the bars are moving. So that means that hopefully everybody out in Streamland can hear us. Hello to Brunty. How are you, my friend? I hope you can hear us, Brunty. Say hello to my guest, Freak, author of Ignition, Flare, and tons more other Laravel stuff as well, Freak.
Hey, hello everybody. Yeah, you say that I'm the author of Ignition and Flare, but it's probably better to say that I'm the co-author
Yes, yeah.
of Flare and Ignition because it was really like teamwork, and I don't want people think that I'm like the one magic mind behind it. It's multiple people that made this.
That's completely fair. I do apologize. I know you've had. It's not only have you had a co-creator who you totally should shout out, but you've also like had community help. It's an open source project, right?
Yeah,
Ignition.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, we very early on we decided that we want to open source Ignition because it makes sense because we can't um, make a good product by ourselves. Other people have knowledge in their heads too about how errors should be handled. So yeah, it was from the start off. It was our idea to make it open source. And with because I say our the whole time, but I'll put some names to our.
Yes,
So
please do. Please do.
Ignition and Flare, they're made by Beyond Code and Spatie. Those are two companies. And yeah, Spatie, that is my own company. We operate from Antwerp in Belgium, and we're like 10 people big. And Beyond Code is a German company, and I think there are two people, and one of the two is also pretty well known in the Laravel community. It's my friend Marcel Posio,
Yep.
and we did yeah, I think you could say the lead technical work on this, but we got help from both our teams to really flesh it out.
That's amazing. So yeah, I've just fired up in case anyone missed last stream. So last stream I kind of got all excited and investigated Ignition first, and then Flare later on, and we'll come to Flare later. But the Freak and Marcel, I think, hang out in chat and give me a good heads up on this brand new. So this is Ignition. This is the brand new error handler that is bundled by default with Laravel 6, and I believe it can be backported to all the way back to 5.5 Laravel.
That's correct.
So essentially, this replaces Whoops, right? So Whoops was the default error handler previously, and now we have Ignition, which is this super cool error handler. And let's just like really run through it quickly, just in case people weren't in the last stream,
Okay.
to make sure the people are aware, because we are going to dig into the code today. This is going to be like a code heavy stream, hopefully, where you can show us some of the tips and tricks and amazing coding you did to be able to create this beautiful and functional error handler.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, so I've just made a really, really fundamental mistake in my code here. Let's show that quickly. So if I go to my home controller, you can see that all I've done is I've added an X there. Is the code big enough your end for you to read easily, Freak? Is that okay for you?
Yeah, I can read it perfectly. Thanks.
Superb. So I've just added like an X, right? So this view doesn't exist. So Laravel would normally have just given us a Whoops error handler, but now we have Laravel. This is a Laravel 6 project. So we can see that we have an invalid argument exception. Home X not found because such a view script doesn't exist. The blade template doesn't exist. And then this is kind of the solution, the green box, from what I've figured out. So correct me when I'm wrong, which I will be. So it's saying home X is not found. Did you mean home? So Ignition has figured out that there's a typo here, and there is a blade template called home, which is close to home X, and it's saying that's probably what you meant, right?
Yeah.
So that's super cool straight away. And then you get the usual stuff. So you get a stack trace like you'd have got this in Whoops. But you blew my mind last stream by the fact you can click on these pencils to open this file and location in PHP Storm. That kind of blew my mind, but that's all good. And then we've got a stack trace. This is similar to what we would have had in Whoops, I think. Is there any big differences in the stack trace, or?
There's some intelligence there. If you have like an error in a view file, then whoops, it will actually show you the file name of the compiled version. So that's somewhere in cache, and that isn't helpful.
Yeah.
Well, we do some parsing in the stack trace itself, and we replace it by the uncompiled view, so by the view that is in your project.
So if we, for example, go to resources, right, views, home.blade.php, and then add an error in here instead of in the resolving of the view file. So yeah. I guess I could just do like just a function that doesn't exist, I guess.
Yeah, do some
eep, which probably shouldn't exist. Okay, what have I done? Eep. I bet you eep exists or something here. Double curly braces should be correct here.
Yeah, I think that will throw an error.
Let's try it and see, as we do on this stream, right? That's totally what we're about. So yeah, you can see exactly what you're talking about there. Is that it's detected at its line 9 of the uncompiled is probably not a great.
Yeah, that's the right technical term.
It is. Wow, I win. Yeah. I win the internet today. Excellent. Yeah, so in Whoops, it would show an error where it was giving you a link to the compiled blade template, whereas now we can see exactly where it is in the uncompiled blade template, which is cool.
Yeah. So and you also see that file in the stack trace itself. You also see like the uncompiled version, so the home.blade.php and not like storage cache views, some hash.
So it would normally be in here, right? Storage app, or maybe app.
Maybe somewhere. framework.
Yeah, cache. Somewhere in here, anyway. Who cares?
Somewhere there.
But views, obviously.
Views, there
and then it would give you like one of these crazy hash.php files. So yeah, that's really, really cool. So that must have taken some work.
I think that was a piece that was added by Marcel, and he was quite fast on adding it. He already had, I think, some experience with customizing the view parts a little bit.
Nice.
But the most hard things while developing is not like the programming of it all, because Laravel is quite flexible, but just coming up with the idea of doing this, this would be better if we do that,
So did you? We definitely will look at some of the tech now, chat, because I can, I know that's what people are signed up for. But did you? I'm sorry, I'm interested in how this came about. So did you? You must have done extensive testing with real world testers with this stuff, right? To be able to figure out people saying, "Oh, it would be nice if we saw the uncompiled blade template here."
Well, we didn't do as much test with many people,
Nice.
but both Marcel and I we have a lot of experience, and in both our companies we run a lot of projects.
Yeah.
We tested there, and we also have some friends in the Laravel community, and we asked them for opinions and for features, because during the entire time of that this project was made, we tried to keep it hidden because we want to make it a surprise for when it came out. So we actually couldn't ask too many people, can you test this? So
Yeah, I noticed that it came from nowhere, essentially. I
yeah,
mean, I know you teased a few things because I obviously, I follow you on Twitter and we chat on Twitter now and again.
yeah,
But and so I'd seen this you tease in some things, but you
yeah,
obviously were involved. You'd obviously shown this to Taylor, right? Because
yeah.
it needed to get actually bundled in with the version 6 release of the framework. So obviously Taylor was in the know. But yeah,
Yeah.
you did a pretty impressive job of keeping this quiet and hyping it up for the. I think it was Laracon EU last month that
It
you.
was for Laracon EU.
Yeah.
I'll give you maybe a little scoop that I haven't told anybody
Woohoo!
anywhere else public. I think our original plan was to do Laracon US,
Yeah.
but we wanted to polish it a little bit more. So we added. We needed a little bit of time in
Yeah,
the
that's
EU.
that, it's difficult, right? Because there's
Yeah,
part of you always wants to release early, right? But when you know full well that this is intimidating, like people in chat probably understand, but you're immediately like, I don't want to, upset you and give you anxiety like I have, but that this is going to get. This isn't a soft launch of an open source package where you can start promoting it and improve over time, right? This is going into Laravel 6 core essentially. There's no question there, I guess. Oh, I think we've lost Frake. I think that my total oh, he's back. Cool. I
still
thought I'd scared you off there by like revealing how oh, there's a terrible echo your end now.
is there an echo in my end?
I think we're okay now. No, it sorted itself out.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, you released this and then it was immediately embed. You released this and it was in Laravel 6 core, right? So you're going to be having thousands of downloads of your open source package
Yeah, I think
immediately.
we're approaching, I think, 500,000 now.
I mean,
So
I mean that
it's
is
it's fast.
that
Yeah,
is that is like mind blowing for me. I do quite a bit of work in open source, but normally you just release the package and show it to some friends and then get a few people using it. And with
yeah,
you're like, oh, we've written this brand new error handler and now we're going to get like 500,000 downloads in a month or a week.
yeah. I'm pretty amazed by the numbers too. But yeah, that's what you get when you hang your wagon on the Laravel train. It just steams ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
My other packages, it doesn't go this fast. This is by far the fastest download graph that I've seen. So
That's amazing. It's really amazing. So I'll just quickly go through some more of the features. So
yeah, sure.
the request stuff I would say is pretty standard to like any error handler. There's not a lot of Laravel specific stuff in there, I would guess.
Nope, it's just the
Yeah.
requests.
And then, but the app stuff is where the good stuff comes for me. So we can see which controller was hit. So
Yep.
firstly, which root was used to root this. So it's the home root name, which we could look up obviously in our web.php roots file, and then which controller and action dispatched it. If there are any parameters in the root, which there weren't in this case, and then if we've got which middlewares have been dispatched.
Yep.
Dispatched is the wrong word, but that's fine. Which middlewares were used in order to return this response. So that's really cool. And then which view was used, and then there's an error bag in the view, as we know, because this view's deliberately got an error, which is really nice. Which users logged in. So this is all Laravel's bundled auth specific, I imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's really nice. I'll stop talking soon, chat. Don't worry, and we'll get into some stuff. But I really do think this is cool. So a little bit about the environment information and the context. And then if we did any debugging information, and it also shows you, this is super cool. Like, it shows you any queries run if you're using any of the Laravel database stuff, I guess, not just Eloquent. So
Yeah.
amazing. So this is the brand new error handler. So I guess I'm going to ask a question. What, is there anything that you were kind of particularly pleased about? Is there anything you want to show us? Where would you like to start?
Yeah, maybe we could start at where the package starts, maybe at the service provider where we
Yep.
we set it all up. It's a good place to start the story. So yeah.
So it's easier for us if we just have this basic what's new app that I've got here, or do you want me to check it out clean from version control? How's the easiest way for you to explain this?
No, it's good. This application is good. We'll just
Cool.
use what's in the vendor directory, and you can see immediately here that there are some different packages from Facade here working together.
Yep.
So together with Ignition, we've also created an exception tracker called Flare.
Yep.
And actually, our idea was to only do like an exception tracker, and the Ignition idea came later. So some of the stuff in Ignition is built on what is provided by Flare.
Okay.
So we have like a report, we have a structure where the exception gets transformed into a report. It's like the exception and all the amazing stuff around it. And that report was built to send to Flare. But we used that report in Ignition 2 to transfer all the information from the backend to the front end. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, so I'll just quickly show this as well as we're talking about it. So Flare app is the other side of the coin. So it's a paid software as a service product which marshals all your errors into one place, right? So it's this is fascinating for me, but in my mind, this is more for production errors, and Ignition is more for development errors. Is that how you see it?
That's correct. Ignition is like the local error screen, and Flare is targeted at just handling the production, the exceptions you get in production.
Yeah, so you can see, even though that we're in production, 9 minutes ago when I fired the last error, because I've got Flare set up correctly, and Freak and the team have kindly given me some trial. I really need to get around to buying this, though, the amount I've been using it. But it's all good. I can still have some freebies. Yeah. That's the joys of this stream. So you can see the errors right here. And if I click on this listed error, essentially you get virtually exactly the same screen as you do when you're in Ignition. So this is designed that when you push your application into production, you turn error reporting off. So I'm going to quickly show that because this is pretty amazing as well. Sorry, chat, we'll get to the nuts and bolts. So if I turn app debug off now, and as we found out last stream, I have to stop and start PHP Artisan Serve, because I'm imagining it only... Where is PHP Artisan Serve? What's going on? Something weird's happened here. I imagine that PHP Artisan Serve only parses that M file once.
Yeah, I guess so.
When it it's here. When it fires up, and then kind of it sits in memory to serve the file. So it's a bit old school, but you do have to do that. So now you can see that this is how it would look in production. So now we can imagine this is a production site. So there is an error. We don't give anything away to our users. We don't give anything away to our potential attackers with stack traces and all that horrible stuff that we want to keep private. But we do see the errors in Flare, so you can debug them as if you were debugging in development, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. It's fine. So yeah, that's what Flare is. So when we go back to looking at the code, and let me put this back into showing errors again, otherwise I'll forget to do it later and be look like a bit of a fool. So when you talk about Flare, that's what you're talking about. So the error marshal inside of this came first, and the custom error handling came second.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's correct. So you have that Flare client, so that's for communicating with the Flare service.
Yep.
Then you have the Ignition, that is the local page. And then you also have Ignition contracts, and those are basically a set of interfaces that you can use in your own projects to add solutions to your exceptions.
That's really, really cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we should try doing that, like, at some point. But let's see how this actually wires together first, I think.
Yeah, sure. So let's open up maybe the source map of the Ignition project, and there let's go to the Ignition service provider.
No problem. I'm sorry, chat, I am ignoring you a little today, but this is something new to me. So yeah, thank you so much for the follow, Sir Nightlord, Modestas V, and Ruler Rowell. Welcome to the stream. Oh, and Hunting and Fishing. Welcome to the stream too. Sorry, Freak. So this is the Ignition service provider.
Yeah.
This is standard Laravel stuff, right? This tells Laravel that you would like to add these things into the application, right?
Yeah. Yeah, this is called very early on when Laravel boots, and we can just add some things there. And yeah, for me, this is all very common stuff at the top, because this is what you do when you create packages. Those packages, they have config files. They need to be publishable, so they need to be able to be copied from the directory of the package to your own directory. That's set up there.
So these two will be copied from the config file of the package into the config directory of my project, I assume.
Yeah,
cool.
And that's optional. If you don't publish it, then you get the default options.
Nice. Yeah.
And there are two config files: one Flare for the reporting to Flare, and Ignition that's more for how your error page should look like. Maybe you could open up the Ignition config file. And you can see here that we can configure the editor. So
nice.
So you can use any editor you want for that little pencil you're a fan of.
Yeah, I love that.
We also have multiple team support. So we also have a dark team. So if our error page just burns your eyes, you can make it dark too, which is pretty cool.
I don't think I published the config here. Can I just copy it in, or do I need to do something if I wanted to see that?
Yeah, maybe just copy it in. That's maybe the easiest for now.
Because anything in the config directory gets automatically
it gets merged
globbed by Laravel. Yeah, that's. Yeah. So you don't need to actually Why is that not copying? Okay, let's just do the old school drag and drop.
Come on.
Otherwise, I mean, I could just use the command line, right?
Yeah.
This is going to move it. Okay, that's not good. It's okay. It should copy it, right? Copy, and then paste. That should work. Oh.
There you go, I guess.
There you go. Okay, cool. So now I can just say, like, dark. There you go. And well, let's see. I probably do need this config, right? So I probably do need to do the old school.
Yeah.
And then, there you go. Oh, I actually prefer that. That's really nice. I mean, right. the light one looks good enough anyway, but I do kind of prefer that. That's nice. So yeah, and then we have, the share button I didn't show. So we can share this with colleagues. Use the M variable for dark mode. Hey Dre's, how you doing? Nice to see you. The share I really like is so this is essentially copying the error to like a gist in GitHub for sharing with colleagues and stuff.
Yeah.
So we can share it on Flare. So if I just click share and then open public share, I guess copy to clipboard. And then if we go to twitch.tv /spabby and copy and paste that into chat. You should be able to see that your end. I mean, I can see myself, which is horrible, but that's fine. In fact, let's... Whoa! I didn't like that. Yeah, that's too freaky, even for me. Like, whoa there. But you should be able to see that now in... So you can share it with colleagues. I guess that's going to be highly used for copying and pasting into Stack Overflow, I would imagine.
This is much better than just copying an exception message or an image or something. Now you can share like the whole context of your error with anyone. So
is there anything? Is this giving away anything? Do you think? I'm interested in your opinion. Is this giving away any like secret source that you shouldn't really be sharing?
Unless you add it yourself, I don't think so. Or if there is anything, that's basically your responsibility. The thing that don't do is adding N files in there. We don't display N files because to us that doesn't make sense to display that. So
of course, people tend to keep like API keys and secrets and all other good stuff in there, so that's sensible, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So we got a question from Macro Pavetti or Gramius wants to know, can the decompiler possibly be extracted to a monologue formatter? Essentially, effectively, it translates traces. No, I think it already does that, doesn't it?
For that we need to dive a little bit deeper, but
let's do it then. Yeah, it's cool.
The exception logging actually is a monologue handler underneath it. Well, if we go through to some more of the service provider,
of course,
then we'll hit.
Oh, we've lost you, I think, Freak.
Hello.
Yeah, there we go. It just sounded a little muffled. It's fine. We can hear you again.
Okay, cool.
So, we've got...
here we do some basic stuff. And then in register, then the ignition specific stuff starts. So, here we have neatly bundled all the steps we need to set up for this error page. So maybe we'll just... go by them one for one, so you know what they do. So those housekeeping routes, I mean, those are the routes that are used by the ignition page to do some of the stuff. So for instance, the first one, that health check thing. So I think you haven't shown that to the stream yet, but those some of the solutions that we have, they can be run.
Yes, so we can easily show that, right? So, let's quickly show that. Brenty said, who just checked their computers to see if they had Slack notifications just after they heard your Slack notification coming on stream. So that's 2 thumbs up to you for trolling everyone, Freak. That's really nice. Let's take a look at this. So, at the moment, this can't really give us any answers to our problems because essentially we have a line terminator in the wrong place, right? So there's not really anything it can give us a hint for. But if we go back to the view, the blade template, sorry, and if we fix that, but then create a different problem, so now there should be no problems. If we go to the .m file, is a good example like removing the app key. That tends to be the one that I do. So if we remove the app key and then restart Apache, which is like, I really need to figure out a better way of doing things than that, because I'm not going to want to be restarting Apache all the time. And then refresh, sorry. You can see now it is saying no application encryption key has been specified, but it's saying in order to fix this, you need to run PHP artisan key generate, and it can do it for you, right? So if I click this button, it essentially does it for me by running the artisan handler behind the scenes, which we covered on stream last time. And I do need to cycle Apache again, but it should fix it, hopefully. There you go. Fixed it for us. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the health check controller, did you say? The health
Yeah,
check route?
that health check control does something very specifically. I don't know if you noticed it, but if you refresh the page the first time when you got the error, then the button that says run the solution, it didn't appear immediately. There
Yeah.
was a little bit of a waiting time, and then that health check endpoint was used. That health check endpoint, it just calls the application, and we actually see if we can run something, if the application isn't too broken, because if it is totally
Yeah,
broken,
okay.
we can't run anything at all.
So
So
essentially, you run artisan call help dash
yeah,
dash version, and
yeah,
that proves to you that you can run artisan commands to fix
yeah.
stuff.
That the Laravel core
Yeah,
is bootable. So that's what we proved there.
that's really cool.
Because otherwise, if we wouldn't do that, and we would display like a button, like we can fix it for you, and you click the button and nothing happens because Laravel itself is broken, that would be a frustrating experience. So that's a little bit
That's
of
really nice. So this adds a, let's go back. Sorry, back. This adds a slash health check. I guess these routes are in a group.
yeah, these are in a group indeed.
Yeah. So it's like ignition, housekeeping, and blah 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 blah. But you could visit that yourself, right? You don't need to actually just let the framework see it.
Yeah, this is all behind the screen stuff, just polishing. Probably you'll never see this if you don't work on the package.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. And that second one, that's the one that actually will get called when we want to execute a solution.
Yeah. So this is just the controller that will actually run the artisan command when we click the button that we just clicked.
Yeah, it will figure out for which solution should we run, and on that solution it will. I think the method is called run solution, and that's where in case of the app key solution, then we will run the artisan command to generate the app key. I think those solutions they are also pretty viewable. Yeah, in the solutions there. Yeah.
So this is the solution title. Your app key is missing. This is the link to the documentation, which is another super cool thing I love, by the way. You get links to the documentation everywhere. And then a description, and then the run button text. And then this is essentially what is run. PHP artisan key generate, yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah.
Very nice.
That's how it works.
Where were we? Let's go. We were in the service provider, right? There you go.
Yeah, and then you have another route to share a report. So
Yeah.
that's the one for sending to Flare, and then we have some routes to load some scripts and styles onto the page itself.
Yeah.
That's maybe not too interesting to dive
No?
in.
Cool.
Dive. So then we have the next step: register solution provider repository. So in memory, we will hold a repository with all those solution providers. And I think if you, how can we see that easily? Or I'm just going to say it. On that solution provider repository, there's actually a method called register solution repository. And you can add your solution repository to the ones that we have.
So that's going to be in the Ignition contracts or in...
Just
there, right?
maybe the contract. Here it is. Register solution provider.
Yeah.
And here, we hold a big array in memory where those solution providers are kept.
So you could write your own solution provider that implements the right interfaces and add them into this using a register solution provider. Cool.
Yeah. It's in our documentation. There's an example of how you should do that. It's fairly simple to do.
Sounds cool.
And then in your own package or in your own projects, you can add your own solution providers.
So,
another thing.
Sorry, Frank. Just get this right in my mind. So in my own project, I expect the developer to, I don't know, check this out and copy and paste a specific configuration file. I could write a solution provider that checks if that file exists and gives this nice Ignition error saying it says in the documentation you should copy and paste this config file and you haven't.
Yeah, then you could do something like that.
Yeah, that's
You
super cool.
you could then provide a solution that checks which config files are there. Is this one missing? Is this the error page? Yeah, then you should run this solution.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
And solution providers are actually like the advanced part of the story. You also have just regular solutions, and a solution that's just an interface that you can implement on an exception. And on your exception itself, then you can add some solution things. A solution provider, it will just get the exception and tell, hey, am I valid for this exception or not? And a solution that is on an exception immediately.
So yeah.
I think you can see that maybe in the contracts.
Yeah, here I don't know, I pressed the wrong button then. My bad. I've got this new Mac. Oh, this is just the interface for a solution, yeah.
It's for a solution. So you can implement that on an exception, and then when that exception is thrown, we'll just display that solution that is on the exception itself.
I get you. Nice. Yeah. Cool. And then so that's kind of how you define solutions and solution providers. Yeah. I guess you'll accept pull requests then on your solutions if you think they're good common solutions to common problems. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah, we actually already, I think, merged 5 or 6.
Wow.
And some go pretty far. Some can just correct typos in your code. So like, hey, you've used this function, that function exists. Let's just correct it. You use that variable, but it's one-off, but with a variable above. So probably you mean this. It's pretty cool stuff.
That is nice, yeah.
So the exception renderer, maybe you should go into that a little bit later. That is actually the class that will render the exception page. Register whoops handler, that's an interesting one. That is like the entry point of how exceptions are rendered in Laravel. So in Laravel, you have this exception handler class.
Yep.
And it will try to render render an exception. And in previous versions of Laravel, in the Laravel core, a whoops handler would be instantiated. But we actually did a PR to Laravel, I think somewhere in May or June, which changed it up. Laravel will now resolve a handler to display exceptions from an interface. That's the handler interface. Yeah. And here we just can specify, hey, if you are going to render an error, just use the ignition whoops handler and not the regular whoops handler.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So
go ahead.
So so you got an abstract class that implements the interface you need, and then ignition whoops handler extends that and adds the ignition specific stuff, right?
Yeah, and here the ignition specific stuff really starts. So here we have our own error page handler, which gets the exception, and in the handled method of our own error page handler, there some of the magic happens. So here you see all of the things coming together. So I've said that we have like this reporting structure where we add some more info to the exception. We add like all the request information and the queries and dump information. That's all being done in that report.
Which is an instance of what? Let's take a look here. Flare client. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's from this separate repository, right? That was from this year. Yeah.
Yeah. So we just piggyback on the report structure that we came up with for our own error reporter and just use that in Flare as well.
Nice.
Now that create report, that's also interesting. So just let's go to there.
Okay. Let's. Why is that not? Facade ignition facade. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I think it's maybe. I think if you open up
It's
the.
fine. I'm gonna hack. I'm gonna hack
Okay.
live. I'm
I'm just.
hacking the vendor directory live on stream because that's the
Okay.
way I roll. Facade Flare client. It's gonna be an instance of the client or Flare.
I think it's Flare.
Let's try that.
Yeah. It's been a while since I touched this myself,
There we
so.
go. Yeah.
All
Woohoo.
Yeah, so here we are going to create that report, and we are going to create it for the trouble that was given to us. And you see that there are two things given to that create for trouble function. The first one is the trouble thing itself,
Yep.
and then the other thing, the context detector, that's for detecting if we're in a web request or a CLI request. If you click through that.
Yeah, that's gonna be one. Oh, okay. Let's guess. No, that was the wrong one. There you go. So yeah, it just says, is it running in console? So does this? I haven't tried this in console. Does it just not do anything in console, or does it have a console version?
It doesn't display in console yet,
Yeah.
but it does report to Flare in console. So if
Oh,
you have
nice.
in Flare, then we actually send along the context of your console and not of a web request because we don't have a web request
No,
on,
no, no.
on
But
console. Yeah,
it's kind of nice for like if you're using cron jobs or whatever the equivalent is in there's because Laravel comes the ecosystem comes with something that's a wrapped cron job, right? But if you're using that kind of thing to run, I don't know, some housekeeping scripts every day, and they start accepting, you're still going to actually get that into Flare.
yeah, or on queues. On
Yeah, yeah,
queues
that's
are
nice. Yeah,
web requests as well.
queue
So
work.
we
Yeah,
report errors for that as well. So.
yeah, that's
I
really
think if we
nice.
would be able to do that, we would be pretty soon out of business. So we need to catch things there as well. So in that create for trouble, maybe that's also worthwhile to click through. Yeah, here we are going to actually use that context and set some of the basic stuff up, like getting the throwable the message from there. We are going to destructure the stack trace. We are going to destructure that in frames. That could also be interesting, interesting thing to look at, because if you take a look at the ignition at an exception there, then we know which frames are from your application and which frames are from your framework. So we need to do some inspection in the stack trace itself too.
So you if I want to see this in,
Yeah, just
oh no, that's too bad. That'll do though. So this
yeah,
should now throw us an error. There we
yeah.
see.
And you can see that we just hide those vendor frames
Yeah.
because probably your error isn't in those vendor frames. The vendor directory is probably very, very well tested. So probably you want to see your own application frames, and we hide them by default.
Yeah, that's
So
really neat actually.
yeah, I really like that myself too. That I just have my eyes immediately on the things that I made myself, and
Yeah,
not
yeah.
on everything that's in between.
I mean, quite often you will want to see like what the vendor's doing with, for example, if you've passed some state into something inside of Laravel and it's not working as expected. But normally, I guess you'd use like step debugging for that rather than clicking through
Yeah,
like an error handler. I don't suppose you would. I mean, it might be nice to be able to just quickly see, oh, what was happening here, but
yeah,
realistically, you would step debug through that, I think. So,
yeah. So yeah, we need to do some detection on the frames. So in here in the construct, yeah, something very funny happens with like current file, current line. And this is actually one of the first things that I coded up for the entire project, I think. I noticed when you do like a stack trace in PHP, that structure is a little bit drunk. You see like the code snippet for the previous file, and this is it's something like that. And this is a piece of code that tries to correct that, that tries to put a snippet with the right file. That's what that loop is doing here.
So it's because you don't get the information in the format you needed from PHP
Yeah.
because it's PHP, right?
Yeah, because it's PHP and probably for some backward compatibility reason, the stack trace never got cleaned up. But maybe you should do that in your own time. Just try to do a stack trace, and then you'll see that the snippets don't really match up with the lines. Maybe there's a good reason for them being not matched, but to me, it was a little bit illogical.
Yeah, nice. Okay, and then you just say, okay, we'll default to unknown and 0, which is sensible. Because if you can't infer it, then meh.
Yeah, then we just don't know it.
Yeah, nice.
And we create little frame objects. Maybe that's also nice to just click through. And that's just
like a value object. Yeah.
Yeah. And here we can do some things with a snippet, like how many lines of code do we need around this, something like that. So the code snippets, you can just say from this file I want to have like the code around this, and we put that in the stack trace as well. Because I think in a default PHP stack trace there aren't any code snippets, right? So we need to add those ourselves too.
Nice, yeah.
So this is like the real low-level stuff.
Yeah, no, but it's interesting to know like the restrictions of PHP that you would have to be working around. So, yeah. That's really nice.
All right, let's move a little bit up again.
So where were we? Let's take a look. We went up from frame, right? And then we're in stack trace.
This is the stack trace.
And then that's where I just broke everything again. There we go.
Yeah, and here we are in the report class. So this is how our report gets made. So here in this, here we don't do anything Laravel specific yet. I think this is just PHP.
So this is effectively just generating this, right? This.
Yeah,
that the information needed for this pane.
Yeah, for that structure. That's what we've done now.
And did you? Yeah, it's just the exception information and stuff, right? So that's not including any additional. Hasn't marshaled any more information around the app or the request or anything. It's literally just put in the exception into a more usable format for display later on down the line.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool.
All right, let's go up one level more.
Okay. Let's do it. Yeah, that's right. Okay, create report. You want to go?
Yeah. And here we have that pipeline thing going on, a little bit below around. Yeah. And here with those middlewares, if I remember correctly, because it's been a while since this was coded up, we have the middlewares, and these middlewares actually add specific things, I think. Maybe you can open up the middleware
let's see
directory.
Okay, so we've got a report. It was a new pipeline. Where's the middleware being added?
Through middleware, and that's actually
through this middleware. Yeah. Okay, sorry. So the middleware is an empty array at this point, but it gets added.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah. And I think in the service provider, I'm not sure, if you search for register middleware there, then you'll find some, I think. Yeah. Here, there's already one here above.
There you go.
Yeah. And these are the things that gets added to the report itself. So we have the logs, the dumps, the query solutions, environment information. So here we are going to do extra things with that report. Maybe a good one to look at, a simple one, maybe.
Dumps, maybe?
Oh, maybe add dumps. Yeah, that could be a good one. So here, if we keep a little bit on the surface of things, what we have made is a class, a dump recorder, which listens, I think, to the Symfony var dumper. You can register callbacks to it that should be done when there are things dumped,
Yep.
and we record them, put them in a little array internally in a get dump recorder.
Yeah.
We get them out with get dumps, and here, there you can see the two array, and this is maybe a little bit too deep to dive.
But I understand what's happening. It's essentially it's almost I mean, I don't think it probably doesn't use events, but it's almost adding a hook into the dump event and just storing it in its own array so that it's available to get out later on.
Yeah, exactly. And here on the report where this middleware, because this add dumps thing that is a middleware, where the report where this middleware is applied on, we will just call group. And a group is just like a loose structure in our report where we can add extra information.
So you add a group which his name is dumps, and it's the array of data that's been dumped during this request, which is kind of being just grabbed from the Symfony dump function. I get it. That's nice.
And basically every information that is Laravel specific or application specific gets added this way. So we have like a middleware that just collects things, and it adds things as a group to the report.
So we pull some queries out, and you stick them in a query group ready for rendering later. Hey, Lee Stills, how you doing? And he says hello to you as well, Freak. So hello. So cool, so each of the middleware essentially marshals data and puts it into a group that you're going to need in the front end renderer, right?
Yeah, and you can, I think it's in our documentation. You can add your own middleware as well. So if you want to create a middleware that does something else, we have a way to just register that with our middlewares, and then it gets added to the report as well.
Yeah, cool. So you just use the Flare client register middleware method that we were just looking at a minute ago.
Yeah.
Here. So you just use this. You could pull that out to the container, right, and just use register middleware.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here. Cool.
Yeah.
And then where were we? We were looking at.
Yeah.
Ignition is super cool, by the way. It is, Lee. Yes, it is. I agree. So we register the default middleware. Where were we looking up here? Were we looking at this file even? I don't think we were. Let's take a look where we were. Stack trace report, I believe.
Report, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. So then we were. I think that kind of.
Maybe we were one higher. Maybe. I'm not sure. In Flare, take a look at Flare.
Yes, register default middleware.
Yeah, there you have that register default middleware. Yeah.
And then we were looking at a for each around the middlewares, right? Never mind, it's fine.
At the pipeline, I think, but I think you get the point.
Yeah, I think we get the point. I understand that.
To add things to the service, to the report. Maybe you should go back to the service provider and just see what other things are getting set up.
Yeah, so we pull out the okay.
Yeah, we already skipped a little bit, I think. If you go a little bit higher,
let's go back to the top. Let's see how far we got.
Let's go back to the top.
Okay, so we'd looked at this, right? We'd looked at the register we were looking at last time.
Yeah. So those housekeeping routes we did, the solution provider we did, the exception and whoops handler, that's what we just did.
Yep.
So the next one is the ignition config. There's a hidden gem inside in the ignition config, but I don't know if we should be able to see it. So ignition config, that's basically a class around those config files.
Yeah.
So we can just work with something more nice than just an array of configuration. This may be an interesting thing, because that try catch block.
Yep.
that actually isn't documented yet, I think. I'll just explain what it does. But we still need to know if we really want to unleash this into the world. But I think we want to.
Yeah. I like this kind of thing.
So in the config file here locally in that ignition file, you could set um, if your theme should be light or dark, right?
Yep. We just set it to be dark. That's right
But
there. Yep.
But actually, this is our thinking is that the config file of the application really isn't a good place to do something like that because those config files are project-specific configuration, and this is like a user preference more.
Yep.
So our thinking is that you should be able to configure this outside of your project. And what that try catch block here doing is, and that get config file location path, I think if you open the get config file location path, it will actually try to look for a file called .ignition
Yep.
from your project folder until your root directory of your disk. And if it finds an ignition folder, it will actually use that as a config value. So you can just set like dark theme in your directory where you put all your projects.
So for me, I could do. So this is where I put all my projects, and you can see I've just had this back from the Apple Store because I've only got like 3 projects, which is pathetic. But I could like create a .ignition file here,
Yeah,
and then it would take for all 3 of these projects that were being stored here.
yeah. And then you can just put like dark mode there, and then they're all 3 in dark mode.
Nice, yeah.
That isn't documented yet. So maybe I should document it or talk with the team why we haven't announced this a little bit more prominently. But yeah, this is like a little bit for your stream as well. You could use it that way.
Here, I'll commit this back for you now. That's fine. I just like hacking the vendor directory because it's making chat go into screams of despair every time I make edits to the vendor directory. So, that's the kind of thing I love, Freak, as you know. So it's all good.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so yeah.
That's like register config, and that config object, it basically just gets the config of the things that you have in your project directory with the things that you have like maybe in your user directory, and we can work with it a little bit more easily. It puts it all in that return new ignition config object. And then the rest of the code, we work with that ignition config, and we're not working with arrays anymore.
So it puts it in. This is putting it into the container, right?
Yeah. So we can resolve it from anywhere.
That's really nice. Cool.
So the next step, that's register Flare. So here we actually are going to register like a client to that can report things to Flare. So here we take a look at is there a config key set, is a secret key set. We actually can set the base URL to something else that is used in development. So in development we are not using Flare app.io but something locally, so we can test this
nice.
locally.
Yeah. So this is literally just creating the client that pushes stuff to Flare, right?
Yeah. That's what it does. So then the next one is register log handler, and that is also like one of the more important pieces, because exception reporting in Laravel, it's all being done by the logger. So here we're going to touch upon what Marco was asking. Is this if this is in any way related to like monologger, and it is. Because Laravel uses monologger as well to log things, and in monologger you can have multiple handlers.
Yep.
And if you have to register, if you want to use Flare, you have to register another logger.
Yeah.
And basically that's a logger that is not going to write to the disk, but one that is going to send HTTP requests out to us. That's how that works.
So we did this on stream last time. You can see that we did something in this login.php where we added an extra channel where we've added Flare in here. That's kind of part of this, right?
Yeah, that's a part of that.
So
So this
Flare
is
should have its own entry then, which gets added. Yeah, here.
yeah there. Yeah.
So this is essentially so. Just like we don't need to go into massive detail, but what
Mhm.
happens is that because Laravel registers its own exception handler, right? And that exception handler uses Monolog under the hood
Yeah.
to to manipulate the exceptions and put them wherever they should be going.
Yeah. If there's like an error coming in, then Laravel will if the error level is high enough, it will give it to like the handlers that are interested in that error, and they can do whatever they want with it. One of the default ones is just write it to the log.
Yeah.
So this that's what's being done in that. Yeah, I can't draw on your screen. I my own pointer, but that doesn't work actually. So the default one is that stack
Yeah.
entry there. And you can actually let a message go through multiple of those drives. So here you're going to write to the daily log, so
Yeah,
the daily
which is
channel, and also to the Flare channel.
and the daily log is just the one that's in storage logs.
Yeah,
This file that's named after the day of the month. So that's yeah.
yeah.
And then
And
this
so
is the one that sends it over HTTPS to Flare.
yeah, that's the one that is mentioned in our service provider.
Yeah.
We can dive a little bit into that if you want to.
Yeah,
So
let's take a quick look at that. I think we're doing well for time, so I'm okay. If you've got time, then we're
yeah,
good.
sure, no problem. I'm having fun, so
Yeah, me too. So it's all good. So yeah, this is just a. I guess this is yeah. I was going to say this will implement Monologue's logger interface, right?
yeah,
Oh, this is Monologue's logger
that is
interface.
that's
Sorry.
it.
Yep. Yeah. So it creates a new logger, which is just a monologue logger. That's all
Yeah,
it is. And then
yeah,
it adds a new handler, which
yeah.
is the Flare handler, to that logger.
Yeah,
So
and
the
we give
man,
it an instance of our client so we can communicate with our service.
so the clever part is the fact that it takes an instance of the Flare client and sets some same defaults here.
Yeah,
And then when write is called, which I guess is part of the handler in contract, yeah. Processable
yes.
handler interface. Yeah, sorry, that's me. I should know more about monologue. This is not important. I get sidetracked and I want to figure stuff out for myself, but I can do
No
that
problem.
anytime. It's fine.
If I'm honest, I've forgotten some of the details as well because I wrote this a couple of months ago, and it just looking up at that moment, and then it's out of my head. But
This is standard stuff. If you've written your own custom handler for monologue, there's nothing
yeah,
clever here, right? This is just a standard handler. The clever part is that you pass in the Flare client, which you then call to
yeah,
you then
we then just give it the report to it.
yeah.
And we call the report on line 36. Yeah, we call like the report method on Flare, and we just give it everything around the exception, and that gets reported to Flare. That's how that
Yeah.
works. There's a little bit more to it, but that's basically how it works under the hood. We just piggyback on Monologue to send errors to our service.
That's really cool. I don't
Yeah.
know if Marco's still here, but does that answer your question? If you are, is fine. I like it. So yeah, if we might as well. I mean, we're near the end of the service provider now, so we might as well just go through the lot if you're okay with that.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Cool.
The log recorder, I think that is something that we added fairly recently. That's another scoop
Yeah.
for your thing. If this is it, da, 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 da. Could you open up log
Of
recorder
course
so
I
I
can.
can
Yeah.
have a look at that? What that? Ah no, this is something else. This is like for on the debug tab of Ignition, all the things you logged
Ah, yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
um,
So if you've
at the
literally,
swap.
if I logged anything using, in fact, let's just show that quickly because this is easy to do, right? If I just go to the home controller and then just do like info or something here.
Yeah.
Hello, stream. Don't forget to follow me on Twitch. That's just a subtle reminder to anyone who's in the chat who hasn't followed me that they should totally follow me. But if we now run this, then we go to debug, we should see, there we go, that it's kind of intercepted what you've logged to display in the stack trace, or in the information pane, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, and there we just record all the logs. So here that's where that is set up.
It's just stored in memory for this request, presumably, is it?
Yeah.
Cool.
There are some things in there to catch some edge cases, because if you have an exception, it will be logged as well. But yeah, we don't want have like what Laravel just logged as an exception on our exception page, because we do that ourselves. So there are a lot of subtle things going on there.
Nice. Thank you for the follow, Trace. See, I told you this stuff really works if you like prompt people. It's awesome. That's nice. So yes, where were we? We were in here. So then we've got the dump collector. That's going to be very similar to what you just showed, but just for debug dumps, right?
Yeah. And those recorders, they are being used in those middlewares, but we need to register the recorders themselves as well, and that's being done here.
So this is essentially binding the event handler to that event, but not really using events. But I get it. This is my lack of knowledge and knowing the right words showing its ugly head again.
No problem.
And then we want to so this is registering the artisan command, right? So because you can do flare test in the console in order to send a test error up to flare from the local machine.
Yeah, and it's actually very simple code. If you just click through that test command, should be fairly easy to follow. So if you run the test command, we actually do some checks. Maybe you should just try to do the test command.
We need to be in what's new 6, and then we do PHP artisan flare test.
Yeah. And it actually tests if you just set up some things correctly.
So let's take a look. So
that's being done there.
So this, if you don't have a flare key, it'll give you a cross there instead of the tick that we've got to say that it is there. Okay. So it just does some basic checks to make sure before it tries to send it, so it can give you more useful error in the console than we couldn't send anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and we actually do a couple of checks just to help some people, because there's nothing more frustrating than thinking this should be right and it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? And so we help people with doing some checks here.
Yeah, Marcel's in the chat. Hey, Marcel. Sorry we couldn't get you on. I'll definitely get you on next time, if there is a next time, for sure. Because this has been super cool. So I say you should be proud.
I should say, shout out to Marcel. Marcel did a ton of work of this package as well. So please, I've said it in the beginning, but if you tuned in later, please don't think that I made this all myself. It's Marcel, me, and our teams together that created this.
Yeah, it's amazing. Marcel, Frake's been saying that he coded everything here and he's been taking complete. No, of course he hasn't. It's all good. It's all good. So yeah, this is just registering the artisan command so that you can send a test, which is really handy. Like, because we've got errors and they don't seem to be showing up in Flare. Your first protocol is PHP artisan Flare test, right? To check if that's working at least. So that's really nice. Yeah,
and with that we're at the end of the service provider. So then everything has been set up. I think the big thing that we haven't touched upon yet, but we're already an hour over. But it's
okay.
how the error is actually rendered, because we've taken a look very high level at what's happening here, but the error page itself is actually rendered by Vue, so it are JavaScript components on there. So maybe that's also maybe something that we can take a look at.
Yeah, of
So
course.
if you open up the resources folder, let me see.
So it's not.
So
No, that's the client. It's fine. Config resources. There we go.
resources, and here I think it's in JavaScript. Or maybe views is also a good one to just open up, because that is a blade view. So this is what is the basis of our error page. But you see, there's nothing really rendered here. Instead, we have like this some JavaScript things being loaded. Window Ignition.
Yeah.
And we have that window ignite, and in window data there's actually where the report lives.
Nice. Yeah.
The report and all the configuration is there, and this is where it gets written on on the response from the server, and this is where it gets picked up by Vue components. If you open up your tree again and go to the JavaScript folder, maybe the components, then you can already see some things. So here you can see the Vue components that are used to all this stuff. So I think the summary view.
Yep. So I'm no good with Vue. I know a bit of React, so I'm okay with the principles here. So I shouldn't be too bad. But yeah, let's take a look anyway.
We'll not dive too deep, and I'm pretty sure if you have some basic understanding of React, you'll understand this too. So here, you can see that there's like a solution card being rendered. That error card, that's like the card on top of the ignition page where the exception message live, and so.
So this is another component, right?
That's another component. You can click through it. I think PHP Storm is.
Yeah, I don't think it likes Vue, does it? It's fine at the moment. But I guess that's just like going to be found in here somewhere, right?
Yeah, it's somewhere in those folders.
Yeah, we'll that's fine. We'll believe it exists. So
yes, that was one thing I want to mention, that everything is really rendered by JavaScript.
So the data is, but it's not using asynchronous AJAX to grab the data, right? The data is set into JavaScript as part of the response, right?
Yeah. And then the JavaScript takes whatever is written on the response. If you just take the source of the ignition page, then you'll see that. Yeah. You'll see that we've written it all, written that response.
I can't remember what's the key combination to view source? This shows how bad I am at view.
I think
I know Command Alt and I to bring up the console. I just don't know how to view source.
I think you.
There we go. View page source. There we go. Cool. Yeah. So it's
the data and everything is in there.
So it just essentially dumps a load of JSON into this into window.data effectively, which is then read by Vue in order to render each of these different components.
Yeah.
Nice. Command Alt and U. Thank you, Trace. Yeah, Command Option U. Yeah, now there's one to remember. Thank you very much. Yeah. So that's really, really nice. And then, is there any particular reason you decided to go with Vue, or?
Yeah, because we need some behavior on the front end as well. Yeah, we need to switch those tabs.
Yeah.
There's actually some behavior on the stack trace itself as well. For opening those vendor frames, for highlighting stuff. If you open up the share thing, there's a little dialogue there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, it's nice. It's not.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of little things where we need to have like some good interactions.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. But obviously you don't need to have Vue bundled. We saw in the code that you have this stuff is all available. You know, if you don't need to be using Vue in your project for this to work, right? Because it loads all of the scripts and stuff from from the roots that
it's
you registered early on in the service provider.
yeah, that's correct. It's totally self-contained.
Yeah,
So you can
nice.
use this in a project where you use React too, because this page it's totally something on its own.
Yeah, very nice. Superb. So if there's no more questions, thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
We've been well over an hour, which is really nice, and I'm still very impressed. I did write a blog post about this on the Twilio blog if you want to have a little read rather than look at anything else. But thank you very much for hanging out. Thank you, Frick. I'll definitely have to buy you a beer when I see you next.
You've been a lux, man.
Yeah, well, we never know, but it's all good.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim Seconde. And yeah, I will not be streaming again this week. It'll be next Tuesday for me now. And next Tuesday, we'll be looking at SAM PHP, which I've been really trying to look for. So that'll be a cool try it Tuesday next week. So thank you very much. And thanks again, Frig. And catch you next time.